I was never one of these kids who had posters of their favorite athletes up on the wall because I didn't have any. I mean, my favorite athlete, truth be told, was Muhammad Ali, because my father and I watched boxing at every opportunity because it was free on TV at the time. Yeah, free boxing on TV, huh? Even championship bouts. And Ali always was my favorite athlete and still to this day is. But by the time I became a professional journalist and I covered boxing for 8 years in the 80s, he had long since been retired. My favorites, though, when it came to sports, were the writers that covered sports. So when I was a teenager, I got my mom to get me a subscription to the Sporting News. Now, those of you my age or older probably remember at one time the Sporting News was like the Bible for sports. And it used to be this broadsheet publication, big thing, used to come in the mail, used to get it like on Thursdays. It was like Nirvana, it'd come in the mailbox. And it was like anywhere from 60 to 100 pages. And if you wanted to find out in baseball season like I did and read about the Oakland A's or any of those exotic teams that you just couldn't get, because yes, boys and girls, there was information out there before the internet, but you had to go and seek it and find it yourself. That thing would arrive and Joe Falls of the Detroit Free Press would be writing about the Tigers, or Furman Bisher of the Atlanta Journal-Constitution would be writing about the Braves, and I would read all these great writers week in and week out. Again, that was Nirvana. So eventually became a professional sports journalist, right? And that was like a paying gig. And I've told this story before. I mean, the first time I ever went into a locker room, the first 3 guys I interviewed were Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, Magic Johnson, and Pat Riley. And then it went downhill from there because number 4 was Julius Erving. But, you know, I had to do something. But the best part about that, the first gig, paying gig, it was the NBA Finals at that time, was sitting around pregame 2 hours before tip-off at the pregame buffet. Yeah, they used to give you pregame buffets. Free alcohol, free food. And in those days, everybody used to congregate because there were no tweets to be sent out. There was no Instagram to be updated. There were no Facebook videos that had to be done. It was just a bunch of writers sitting around talking. And these guys that I had read, in that particular case, Jim Murray of the LA Times, Dick Weiss of the New York Daily News. I mean, these guys, Hall of Famers, just sitting around, and I'm just soaking in their knowledge, hearing them talk about Wilt Chamberlain and all these greats and talking about the game. Well, eventually I got into sports handicapping. And you know, in handicapping, you'll hear a lot of guys, including buffoons on the TV, over there, not the Christmas tree, the TV, especially on ESPN, and you know what guys I'm talking about, you know, all about these ATS trends. Oh, it's such BS. ATS trends are just total BS. Because if you tell me an ATS trend that's 13-1 against the spread supporting one team, give me 5 minutes and I'll find you 3 that contradict it. It's just computer-generated BS. There's some handicappers in this business, and I won't mention his name, but you know who I'm talking about, who has made a career out of telling you that in certain situations, when a team wears green socks on the third Thursday of a lunar month, I don't know, you know, they're 14-3 against the spread when the line is between 3.5 and 3 3/4. I mean, it's just so much gobbledygook. It means nothing. It means nothing. The one thing I learned as a journalist and reading guys is that you rely on the guys covering teams to be your eyes and your ears because they have their fingers on the pulse of the teams day in, day out. The biggest change in this business since I started to today was the advent of the internet because it opened up the information highway, literally and figuratively, for handicappers. Not only for injury information, yeah, that's okay, but more importantly, to allow you to literally be there in every city that you want to be to find out how a team is doing that particular day. Yesterday, I had a Razor Bar 20-dime release on the Oregon State Beavers, a team that I followed throughout this season. But the reason I do is because Oregon Live does such a great job. And when they fired their defensive coordinator after that miserable performance in the double overtime loss to Colorado last week, and when I watched their response based on what the beat writer was telling me about how the defense was responding to the new interim coordinator, how Jonathan Smith, the head coach, really had shaken up his team to get their attention with one win needed to be bowl eligible. and that they were going to revert to what they did best, run the ball and pound it relentlessly against Stanford. Well, if you read my analysis yesterday, I was right on money because, listen, I've been following the team every single day this week. I isolated that game last Sunday when the lines came out. Again, let other people that are there tell you what's going on. Now, you don't have the time to do that. That's my job, right? End of story. So yesterday, one of my free picks, I had 3 of them. I lost with Oklahoma, I won with Houston, and the other play was Ole Miss. I mentioned during the video report that one of the writers for the Clarion Ledger in Mississippi happened to be 9-0 with his picks involving Ole Miss. Now, I liked Ole Miss yesterday when I handicapped the card, plus the 2.5 against Texas A&M. Now, when these writers pick their games, they're doing it straight up. But he was 9 for 9 with his picks involving Ole Miss. He didn't love the game, but he liked the Rebels. They were a 2.5-point underdog. Well, when a guy's right there and he's 9 for 9, and I like Ole Miss, as I told you yesterday, I think that was pretty damn good. So I have another game today, similar type of scenario, and I'm going to get to that right now, and that's the Eagles game at Denver. The Eagles are a 1.5-point underdog in that game. A site, NBC Sports Philadelphia. There are 3 writers that I look at religiously, and I've followed them for years. Reuben Frank is one of them. He is 8-1 with his picks. Again, these are straight up picks involving the Eagles this year, going on against him. 8-1. He likes the Broncos to win the game by 3. Again, Denver is a 1.5-point favorite. Dave Zangaro, he is 8-1 as well, but he likes the Eagles to win the game outright by 4. And then there is Ray Didinger, a guy that I've been reading. Oh my God, I've been reading him since I was a teenager. He's a Hall of Famer. He used to work for NFL Films as well. He is 7-2 with his plays this season, and he likes the Eagles to win it by 4. So the consensus is that 2 of the 3 like the Eagles in this game. Now, for me, the Eagles 2 weeks ago took care of business winning at Detroit. Last week, they played close at home against the Chargers, but the same thing that has bothered them in each one of their losses came back to haunt them once again. Their defense can't stop a good quarterback if you paid them or they had 14 men on the field. Their pass rush is non-existent in such situations. Their defense absolutely gets scorched repeatedly. They don't have the right personnel. Their coordinator is overmatched. Now, offensively, they've gotten a little better because their first-year head coach, Nick Sirianni, couple of coconuts fell on his head, I think 3 weeks ago, and it finally dawned on him. It's like, oh my God, I got to run the ball, because if you don't run the ball successfully, or at least try to run the ball, you're not going to win in the NFL. They've recommitted to the running game, or actually they found out, I think he woke up one morning and said, my God, those guys that line up behind the quarterback, they're running backs. We give them the damn ball. It's going to actually work. And it's worked the last 2 weeks against the Lions and the Chargers. I think they'll have some success running the ball today in Denver. That makes Jalen Hurts a little more effective at quarterback. And Hurts, of course, is also very mobile as well. Hurts doesn't have the arm to really go deep. Sirianni doesn't call as many deep pass routes for him now. For some reason, they don't ever let the guy throw between the seams, which you have to be able to do to win in the NFL. The thing that worries me about Denver today, even though Broncos are at home, even though Teddy Bridgewater is one of the most accurate passers in the NFL this season, completing like 72.8% of his passes, is they're coming off that monster road win at Dallas. Do I think Denver is the better team? Absolutely. But I could see Philadelphia winning this game outright with the Broncos getting caught in a letdown situation, and the fact that the Broncos' offensive line is a little beat up today. So I'm willing to give a shot with Philadelphia here. And again, 2 of the 3 writers like the Eagles in this spot. Now, your other complimentary plays today, on the early card, I like New England at home against Cleveland. This is another team, the Browns, that are coming off a huge win at Cincinnati last week. Huge win. Trust me, I know, I had the Bengals. Is this not a prime letdown for them today? And I like the way the Patriots are playing. They're running the ball so damn effectively here of late. 138 rushing yards on average the last 5 games, which takes a lot of the pressure off of Mac Jones. Yes, the Browns are very tough against the run. But, I am still not convinced that Baker Mayfield is playing that well. Yes, he had a good game against Cincinnati last week, but he's going to face a much tougher New England defense, a much better New England secondary, one that excels at playing man-to-man defense, one that excels in ball hawking opportunities, coming up with interceptions. And, Mayfield against man-to-man coverage, his quarterback rating this season, 29. And the Patriots man-to-man coverage rate is the 5th highest percentage in the NFL this season. So I like New England in that spot. So those are your two complementary plays. Of the two, I have to be honest, I do like the Patriots more, but Philadelphia would be right there as my dark horse selection. And remember, yesterday the dark horse pick were the Houston Cougars, and they got the job done at Temple. So those are your two picks. I wish you well, guys, and talk to you soon. Oh, most importantly, don't forget that wacky little stat where if you could pick the straight up winners and simply pick them, and you'll find that the ATS wins will follow is hitting at near 81% clip for the season. All the updated numbers are available right under this video report if you happen to be watching it here on the site. If you aren't, and you happen to be watching this video like on YouTube or something, just click through and you'll get all the updated numbers, because through 9 weeks of play, the straight up winners are hitting at an 81.5% clip. But the dogs have just been phenomenal the past 2 weeks. 10-3 in week number 8, 10-4 in last week. And I can tell you, when the dogs are barking at that rate, only two things are happening. Gamblers are losing a fortune and sports books are making a fortune, because basic human instinct dictates that we always gravitate towards favorites. That's just the way it is. But don't get hung up on suddenly thinking all the dogs are going to go big today. Everything is cyclical when it comes to gambling. And I can tell you, overall this season, the underdogs, despite going 20-7 the past 2 weeks, underdogs this season are 76-55. 21 games over 500. That's a 58% clip. They ain't making you money if you're betting dogs every single day. You got to be selective. So that's it. I wish you well and talk to you soon.